It's facts. 1988, Doug is airing season 3, episode 9, Doug's Hot Property, and Doug the Little Liar. Doug finds the rare first issue of Man of Steel Man, but he soon feels guilty about having the only copy. And then Skeeter falls for a new girl who claims to be from a wealthy background, but Doug wonders if she's telling the truth.
I forgot about this as kind of a Doug thing where it was almost like Ren and Stimpy, where it was split up into different stories. I forgot they did that. That's pretty cool.
And we start this off, Doug's trying to bargain with the comic book store owner. He's a big fan of Man of Steel Man, just a spoof of Superman, of course. And he's got the first 5 issues of Lumpy Squad.
He's haggling with Sully, the old comic book guy, and he's like, look, I'll give you these 5 things. I'll give you this. I'll throw in Lumpy Squad. And finally, Sully's like, all right, you're crazy. I'll take all this. I'll bilk you for that. Great salesman. He probably made a bunch of money off that. He gives Doug this one issue that he's wanted because it's going to sort of help complete this collection of Man of Steel Man, this comic book series he loves. But then Sully, to ultra flex on Doug's like, oh, you got that. That's all good and fine, but I got an issue number 1, Cherry, in the bag right here. And Doug creams his jeans. Sully brings it out, even lets him touch it for a minute.
Pause.
Which, as somebody who, that sounds really bad. That's fucked up. But as somebody who collected comics in the 90s, if you got a Cherry issue like that, you're not pulling it out and letting people put their little greasy sausage fingers all over it. So, Sully, it's a business mistake. I just want to point that out.
Especially for a kid, man. The little pee-pee hands. And he'd give anything to have this, but Sully tells him, this is not for sale. This is just for show.
Now, give me that shit back before you fuck it up with your nasty yuck mouth, Doug. Skeeter. I don't even know why. Is that a nickname? Let me have this. But then we go to this arcade that Doug and Skeeter hang out at. And Doug's just sort of lamenting the fact that, he'll never have issue number 1, Steve. There's 75 in rotation. Old man Sully's got one of them, and he's just never going to have enough money, He doesn't think so.
Now, is it issue number 1? I thought it was issue number 1, or is it 45?
He got issue 45 by giving Sully all like his Fugazi comics, but issue number 1, that's something a whole different thing, Steve. That's a whole different tax bracket. So now he's got a scheme. Now he's got to figure it out. But as he's like kind of talking about this with Skeeter, this like almost drug dealer-esque like shady guy comes up. He's like, hey guys, you guys talking about comics? You want comics? I got a trunk full of comics out back. Come over here. And Doug, which easily molestable kid, obviously, you tell this kid you got a trunk of comics, he's right behind you. So cut to the car. Doug's looking at all these this guy's comic book collection that's just a bunch of loose comic books in a trunk, Steve.
From the black market.
Yeah. And he's rifling through. He's like, there's no way that this guy has Man of Steel Man issue number 1 Cherry. There's no way. Starts rifling through. He's right. It's right there. And it's in the case, Steve. And this is where I love Doug and his savviness, because now he sees that this is an opportunity, right? But he's got Skeeter, the cock block, next to him, keeps pointing out little things. So he's like, oh, yeah, maybe this one's pretty cool. And the shady guys talk it over and are like, we think this one actually might be worth a little bit more because of such and such. And Doug's like, yeah, but I think like the corner's a little rough over here. And Skeeter's like, no, it's not. And he's like, shut the fuck up. He does a couple of those where he's trying to talk these guys into like paying way less for this. And he does, Steve, even though Skeeter, again, is trying to fuck it up the whole time.
Like, dude, that's the most valuable one. Like, that's super rare. Superman Skeeter, little fucking green.
He's talking about something over there. Okay, I'll give you $5 for it. He pays for this comic, gets it. It's cherry, Steve. It's in the bag. The baggie, the little thing with the cardboard back. That's when you knew, Steve.
And
As a former comic book collector, if you got that level of thing, you got something on your hands. It's a piece of art, and I respect it.
And now in one of Doug's dream sequences, he gets to visit his heroes, Man Steel, and his homies, and he basically becomes one of them.
He's comic collector boy. I'd be like, can you guys think of a better name, please? He's Quail Man. Like, why couldn't he just be Quail Man? You know what I'm saying? Just turn him into that.
Yeah, on some multiverse.
You know, he's living his dream, Steve. He's got this comic. And the next day, he's like, you know what? Now I'm going to flex on Sully. Because fuck him. He had to bring this thing out. He got it in my head. I'm going to get in his head. He shows up with Skeeter, looks in. It's closed, Steve. Sully's is closed.
Shut down.
Why?
Yeah.
Why, Steve? What happened?
Well, they see in the newspaper that the very issue that he just caught, it was stolen. And now he's thinking, like, I hope they don't think it was me. I hope it's not me. I hope I don't have a hot issue.
It seems a little weird, though. A bit of a coincidence. I get these weird, shady dealer guys giving me this. Sully's gets right because it's ransacked, Steve. Those comics in that trunk, that were Sully's full collection. So now Doug's got to sort of figure this out in his head. He's trying to talk himself out of it. And they're like, well, where are we going to go? We got to see if we can find these guys, don't they? Like, they're like, we're going to try to catch these guys because they have kind of an idea of what they look like. Leather jackets, sunglasses, hats, shady. Let's go to the mall. And they figure out that basically the whole mall is filled with these shady weirdos, Steve. Maybe this is a mall filled with child molesters. I don't know. It's a weird vibe.
Roger Klotz set him up. And now Doug, he goes to his dad and he throws him like a hypothetical. And it's like, you know what if a kid has something that he got legit, fair and square, but like he found out that it was I don't even think he fully came out with the question, because his dad's just telling him like, well, if it's fair and square, then it's fair and square. All right. Fair and square.
Sounds good. So we're good here. So I'm good to keep that. His dad's like, wait, what? He's like, never mind. You said fair and square. It's like Jeopardy. First answer. Bye. So now he thinks it's cool. But as they sort of work through this, now the guilt starts working in Steve, because Doug's a nice guy. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
You know.
But
so he thinks about telling Sully.
Until he gets to Sully's. Yeah. He gets to Sully's and it's completely different tone, man. Because now Sully has a sign in front of his door that says only one kid at a time. And there's a line wrapped around the building. And he makes it in, and Sully, he's a different person. He's like, oh, if you're not buying anything, get the hell out of my store.
Hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy, yeah. I feel so sorry for your mother.
And so, yeah, I mean, he chickens out. But Sully's, I mean, let's be honest. It's on account of the robberies. I get he's a little, obviously, he's a little hurt. He's just been giving these kids a little hangout. Now they fucked him over. So Doug chickens out. And then, you know, now he has to, he's in it, Steve. He's in his feelings. So we go to a nightmare that Doug's having where basically comic collector boy is sitting here and all of his heroes are just dissolving like Back to the Future photos because he's a thief. I don't remember exactly what the story explanation is, but he's been doing some dirt, Steve, and they don't appreciate, they can't, they're like Tinkerbell. If you're not doing good,
I want to do it because it's fun. It's fun to do bad things.
if there are no comic books, they don't exist. And he says, we don't have a past, and we'll slowly be gone. So you can start seeing them like disintegrate into nothingness.
So Doug comes out of this, and he can no longer contain this guilt. So he goes back to Sully's. He shows him the issue and is like, is this yours? And he basically apologizes, and immediately, Steve, Sully, the frown goes right upside down. He's got his issue back. And he's like, look, I was kind of being a dick. So the whole one kid thing, we're good. And I'm going to throw all these kids in here, all these little fucks. Y'all get one issue of the Lumpy Squad free of charge on Sully.
And King Cracky. Yeah. I think that was one of the comic book titles, King Cracky.
I'd love to see that. What's that story about?
Yeah, that could be really cool or really morose. So, like, that's the lesson learned for that, man. You know, honesty is the best policy. And
sometimes you come on a deal, Steve. You know, somebody's selling something out of the back of a truck. It's like, I got $200 for those speakers. As long as there's something in that box, I might have to take you guys up on it.
Hey, man. Why the Jumpman logo got a big ass?
Why is misspelled like that? But yeah, so, you know, Doug, lesson learned. Don't take hot goods. Yeah. You know, you never know what's going to happen because of that. You almost destroyed an old man's life. So, congrats.
Ain't no why in Nike. And the next excerpt is Doug and the Little Liar. There's a new girl in school, and Doug and Skeeter introduce themselves, or at least Doug does. And, you know, he strikes up a conversation, and the whole time Skeeter is just comatose, out of there. We find out her name is Loretta, and she's from, Yakistonia?
Yep. She speaks Yakistonian, Steve, and she is not hesitant to tell you that she can. She's bilingual. She's related to some lady named Marlene LaFlame, which I believe is her aunt.
Yeah. Famous actress.
Very exotic, very successful. But there's a lot of just, you know, big words coming out, Steve. This is a new girl. And, you know, she's pretty. He's not that into her. He's already got panty mayonnaise, you know what I'm saying? Like, he already knows the real deal. But Skeeter, to be honest with you, fully erect, Steve. And when I say that, his whole body went erect, not even just downstairs. So he was fully into this chick.
And he doesn't snap out of it until Loretta leaves. And, you know, once he comes to, he's like, Loretta,
Don't touch me.
Like, isn't she? Like, well, really, you just met her.
Yeah, dude. But, you know, as Skeeter leaves, Doug's sitting there, and this is like kind of hilarious. This is indicative of like when new friends come and stuff. Like, Doug talks to this other guy who I don't remember being in the show, but his name's Fentruck. He's like a fellow nerd. And he's like, yeah, you know, it's crazy that Loretta chick, she can't speak Yakistonian at all. She can say a couple of things, but I speak Yakistonian, and that bitch ain't speaking Yakistonian. So now Doug's like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Is this a whole honeypot sitch?
Yeah, what's going on? So another dream sequence of Doug where he's a PI. He's a private investigator, and he's basically grilling Loretta on her credentials.
You don't speak Yakistonian, see? And Loretta's using her feminine wiles to get out of it. She's like, maybe I don't, but I do speak. I don't even know. I don't want to go. We're live streaming, Steve. I'm scared to go too blue, but she gets out of it in this dream. She's like, you know what? I gotta go. I'm too pretty to be here. So after the dream, we cut Doug, Skeeter. They're walking with Loretta. And you can see as Loretta's telling another tall tale of some like mountain villa that her family has or some crazy like rich shit. Doug's like, man, shut up. Like in the background. Shut up, bitch. Lying ass. And to make matters worse, he's already like sort of like looking at her sideways, but then she's like, oh, let's go to a movie. Her idea. They get to the movie. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Hey, Skeeter, will you pay for me? You're so cool and handsome and awesome. Can you just pay me? And you can just see that Doug's like, this bitch.
And my friend is a simp because
what's Yakistonian for a bitch?
and then we have another dream sequence where they're out skiing, and Loretta, she goes to Skeeter like, I don't have any money left. Hey, Skeeter, can you cover me? He's like, well, I just took you to the movies and a restaurant.
I'm broke.
Yeah, I'm tight. Well, I guess I'll have to go skiing with someone else then. And to think, I was going to name one of these mountains after you. Huh?
Well, maybe if I get another job and then I take out a loan and I take some of my 401k out, we can go see Triple X2 with Ice Cube.
I can take out of my savings, no problem. It's Skeeter, you are so simping. Usually I think you're the cooler one in the episodes, but man, damn.
She already got to the wallet, Steve. So come out of the dream. Doug, he's lost, man. What do you do in this situation? So he goes and hangs out with Mr. Dink. Mr. Dink's got this real questionable situation where he's got some sort of techno shed that's in the front of his house, but Doug and him hang out in there. I wouldn't be comfortable if I was Doug's father being like, you're hanging out with this old man in a shed? What's going on here, Mr. Dink? And he also always has weird gadgets, Steve. And some of them may or may not be sexual, but hey, Douglas, have you ever had a drill dome stuck inside you? I mean, it's real bizarre.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. But this time, the invention is a truthometer. And this is relevant to Doug because he's trying to get to the bottom of, man, what's up with this new Loretta girl? I feel like she's full of cap. And he throws another hypothetical, this time to Mr. Dink. It's like, what if I have a friend and he's like, I think Mr. Dink just cuts him off. He's like, oh, I'm sorry I lied. I wasn't the captain of the football team.
Yeah, because it keeps, every time he says something now, the lie detector goes off. Clearly it works. So Mr. Dink gets caught in a whole bunch of lies, starts crying, admits to a bunch of really questionable stuff off camera that we only see the aftermath of. Really dark shit. But he helps Doug out. Doug's kind of put on a path. He has access to a lie detector now, so if he really wants to grill this bitch, he has access to a shed and a lie detector machine. But we're not there yet, Steve.
I'll get you, bitch.
He's got to go hang out with himself, figure this out. We see another dream where Doug and Skeeter are escorting Loretta home after and they're still in this Dick Tracy characterization. And Loretta's like, oh, I'll see you boys later. And she's going to go into her house. And Doug's like, well, you never let a girl open a door for herself. And he grabs the handle. The whole house just deflates like a balloon. And we see it's just a bunch of stolen goods that this chick is really just fleeced off Skeeter and his income, I believe, in this world, Stu.
I don't speak Yakistonian, really. I'm a con artist. And as she's walking away, she's like, I left my money at home. Skeeter, can you cover my taxi? And he tells her, take a hike.
Kick rocks, bitch. Fucking Skeeter. God damn it. But that's not real life, Steve. That's a dream. So now we go back to real life. Doug gets a call from Skeeter. It's alarming. One, he's calling from a mall, which is weird, but I guess back in the day you did remember your friends' phone numbers, So he calls Doug. He's like, look, dude, weird, but I'm going to Yakistonia. I just wanted to call and say, have a good weekend. What's up? Got to get a couple things for the lady before the trip because we're going skiing and shit. So she's trying on some stuff, but bye. I'll see you next week. And Doug's like, God damn it. And he gets on his bike. This guy's a homie, Steve. This is a real friend.
And he makes it there, and Skeeter's like, it's okay. Her Aunt Marlene, she'll just pay me when she gets back. And then Doug just calls her out on her shit. He's had enough. And as he's doing that, Aunt Marlene actually does show up.
Cash in hand, Steve. A rack gets thrown on a table. Everything gets paid for. Baller alert. And then they just get on a private jet and leave. And leaving Doug looking like a little bitch, like, and a hater. Which this would hurt. Because he might have been able to go, Steve. Maybe holler at Marlene. Maybe she's into some weird European shit with some kid. I don't know. Maybe it's some Epstein shit, but he could have at least gone for the trip.
I can't fault Doug fully, man, because he's just trying to be a good homie. You know, he didn't want to see his buddy falling out to the wayside, man, and taken advantage of, man. It's sipping ain't easy.
I do love this for Skeeter though, because in this he's gotten his dream girl. He's gotten a free flight to an international location with some rich actress from a place that you know it's probably what's the dollar conversion to Yak Estonian. You know what I'm saying? It's probably one of those where you go in with like $500 and you live like a king for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I hear those Yak Estonia girls are freaks, man. I'm sure Mr. Dink has returning trips.
Holy, you went to Yak Estonia, Douglas? Did they do the thing with your prostate?
Hey, Douglas, so I got these pictures from my trip to Yak Estonia I wanted you to check out. Mr.
This thing called Glaze the Donut. I can't even really explain it, but it was, oh, God. I gotta go into the shed, Douglas.
And in this excerpt, Doug's lesson is don't be so quick to judge people. And I hope Skeeter gets his lesson. Don't be so quick to simp out.
Yeah, don't pay immediately. This was something I did early on in my dating career, is just be really easy with the wallet because you thought that was the way to a woman's heart. But that's not it, guys. It's just going to lead you to heartache and less money in your bank account. But, you know, in this case, Steve, Skeeter, this is one of those times where everything lined up, you know? He did it. He won. So for that, I salute you.